Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with another week of World War II. Week 11, 10th of November, 1939. Hitler almost killed. I didn't know Hitler was almost killed in 1939. I didn't know about this. I know there were multiple assassination attempts over the course of like the 30s onward up until 1945. Did not know there was one that came relatively close in 1939. The closest one I know of is the one, the attempt at an internal coup in 1944 with I really only know of this because of the movie Valkyrie, which it gets its name from Operation Valkyrie, the name of coup, I guess, or whatever. Good movie, by the way. Despite the historical inaccuracies or whatever, I enjoyed that movie. I, en- I enjoy Tom Cruise's historical movies. Like Last Samurai slaps because it subverts your expectation. You would think, like, obviously surface level, you look at the movie and you're like, oh, Tom Cruise is supposed to be Last Samurai. No, 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 no. Is it Ken Watanabe? Was that the actor that played the true Last Samurai in that movie? Now, of course, the reality of the situation is entirely different than what is presented in the movie and whatnot, right? And the samurai are a ruling elite, etc., etc. It is better for Japan to have gotten rid of said ruling elite. But for the sake of a movie, it's a good movie. Anyways, I don't know how. Actually, I do know how I got on this tangent about historical movies. But, anyways, if you haven't seen the Valkyrie movie with Tom Cruise, I'd recommend it. Do not look at it as, like, obviously like a historical movie. Look at it as like a fun movie. A fun movie about almost killing Hitler, and still going through with a coup. I think it's really well paced. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into week 11 of World War II here.
November 10th, 1939. Adolf Hitler runs Germany with an iron hand, but there is a great deal of opposition to him and his rule and the oppression and terror that it entails. It comes from both inside and outside his structures of power, and this week, Adolf Hitler is nearly killed.
Oh no! Shame I didn't succeed. God, I'm so curious what would have happened had that succeeded. Like, would we have seen the SS uh get a whole lot more fucked up? Like, I don't mean in the sense that like it can be taken out of context and that I'm implicating that Hitler was holding them back from killing more people. No, I'm thinking like their leader, their glorious leader is gone. Are they now going to start murdering more people before they end up getting like dealt with themselves? Like, would that be their sort of like panic response, I guess? Um, like, would that happen, or would it kind of just continue on as normal, just with someone else like Goebbels or Goering in charge of Germany? Like, how much would change had he been killed in 39? Like, would the momentum of what was happening with the Nazis continue on without him? Or would it have been, like, dead in the water upon his death? I don't know. I don't really have a good guess for it either. I don't really know the rest of the Nazi leadership all that well. I think if it had been Goebbels in charge, I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure about. Probably Goebbels and Goering probably would have continued on as normal. Same with um, Himmler. Probably would have been more Himmler gives the vibes that he'd be more aggressive. Goebbels would, honestly, a part of me kind of feels like Goebbels might be a little bit scarier because that man knows propaganda. Like, I, motherfucker, like, invented modern propaganda. Ooh, he was good at making it. Um, so yeah.
I'm Indy Nidell. This is World War II. Last week, Heinrich Himmler announced Nazi Germany's new procreation order. It would be the
Uh,
formal and formally organized duty of females of good blood to become mothers to soldiers setting off for battle. There was again no action in the field on the Western Front, and indeed, the British were even beginning to call this war without war the phony war. The Finns were still refusing the Soviet Union's territorial demands, and the Soviets were losing patience. However, negotiations are still in progress. At the start of the week, on the 4th, the Finnish delegation in Moscow get a phone call that the Russians want to meet them at the Kremlin at 6 p.m. At that meeting, Joseph Stalin says, the Soviet government is the only government that could tolerate an independent Finland. The Tsarist government could not tolerate it, nor could the Kerensky government. But the Soviet government demands that its borders be protected. For this reason, the problem of the Finnish Gulf is important. The Soviet government will not dispose of its feelings on Hanko. Soviet Foreign Minister Vyacheslav Molotov adds, Finland could legally call Hanko a concession, a rental, an exchange, a trade, anything she wants to. Hanko is on the Finnish mainland at the mouth of the Gulf of Finland, and one of the main Soviet demands is to be allowed to lease it and fortify it. Envoy Juho Paasikivi responds that Hanko could not be given up under any circumstances. The Russians then start asking for islands in the Gulf east of Hanko. Stalin points at some on a map and asks, do you need these? Paasikivi says, well, that's a new thing. I need instructions from Helsinki. There is another meeting on the 9th that ends with nothing decided, but friendly enough, with Stalin saying, all the best, and Molotov, au revoir. They were not the only ones meeting and debating this week. In the United States, after fierce debate, Congress alters the Neutrality Acts on the 4th. Now, the Neutrality Act of 1937 forbade U.S. citizens from traveling on belligerent ships and American merchant ships from transporting war material to belligerent states, even if produced outside the United States. American ships and citizens were also banned from entering defined war zones. Those provisions remain in place, but now, private American companies can sell war.
How do you even enforce that ban? I don't understand how that could be reasonably enforced in any sort of meaningful way. It kind of just seems like yeah, don't do it. Meanwhile, nothing changes. That's the vibe it gives.
Material as long as the purchaser transports it and pays for it on a cash and carry basis. So only private companies, only foreign ships, and paid for up front. This intends to exclude Germany because of Britain's naval strength preventing German merchant traffic across the Atlantic. Britain and France immediately set up purchasing missions in Washington. With or without American munitions, Germany is still making war plans. Or at least Adolf Hitler is. On the 5th, he meets with German Army Commander-in-Chief Walter von Brauchitsch to discuss plans for the invasion of Belgium and Holland. Hitler sets the launch date for next week on the 12th. Von Brauchitsch argues very strongly against it, saying the army is too weak at the moment. Hitler shouts him down, even, according to Martin Gilbert, verbally abusing him for the army's defeatist attitude. Franz Halder, Brauchisch's chief of staff, had led a group that considered plans to overthrow Hitler if he could not be persuaded to postpone the attack. Plans for the army coup were fairly detailed, but Halder had only received a few promises of support from senior officers. The support of junior officers is lesser, as they tend to more closely follow party line. Halder himself, as a serving officer, is unwilling to murder his head of state during wartime. So between that, a limited chance of success, and a chance remark of Hitler's that implies he knows of the plot, Halder and von Brauchitsch called things off. Note, what army opposition there is to Hitler is not based on morals, but on his usurping of army functions. Well, anyhow, on the 7th, Hitler postpones the offensive because of inclement weather. The thing is, von Brauchisch's points were actually really good ones and could not really be denied. The army is unready, and the winter weather impedes tanks, and the lack of daylight impedes planes. A crucial element of the Blitzkrieg is the need of 5 straight days of good weather to give the Luftwaffe a chance to destroy the French Air Force. The meteorology report on the 7th is unsatisfactory. But if those army officers were only considering removing Hitler, other people are actually trying to do it this week. On November 8th,
Yes.
the anniversary of the Beer Hall Putsch, Hitler's failed 1923 coup attempt to seize power in Bavaria, he makes a speech at the Burger Braukeller, the beer hall in Munich.
Oh wait, we've heard of this one. I think I've reacted to a video regarding this event before.
Where the push was launched. Just a few minutes after Hitler finished
Look at this fucking dweeb. Why do you have your belt above your belly button, dude? No way your chest is that small. And if it is, I'm sorry. Ugh.
his speech and leaves earlier than expected, a bomb blows up. It was planted in the pillar just behind where he spoke. 7 people die and over 60 are injured. The assassin is caught that night trying to cross into Switzerland. He is Georg Elser, a watchmaker who has recently been discharged from Dachau concentration camp, where he had been interned as a communist sympathizer. He is now sent to Sachsenhausen camp. At Munich's cathedral, Cardinal Michael Faulhaber celebrates Hitler's miraculous escape with a
That's not a good look. That's not a good look, Catholic Church.
solemn mass. And, according to one commentator, the reaction in London to the news was summed up in a calm British bad luck, as though someone had missed a pheasant. One source I read, World War II Day by Day, says that the bomb was in fact planted by the Nazis themselves as an excuse for cracking down on what remains of the German left. I could not corroborate that source. Well, it seems pretty clear that Elser had worked alone, but Nazi propaganda blames the British Secret Intelligence Service, who the Germans were trying to stop by any means they could. Walter Schellenberg, an SS intelligence expert, had been in touch with British agents Stevens and Best and convinced them he was part of an anti-Hitler conspiracy. This week, they are lured to Venlo in the Netherlands on the Dutch-German border with promises that they will meet a disaffected German general. One of them carries a list of British agents. Pretty stupid. And the Germans capture many British agents in Czechoslovakia and elsewhere because of this. This is known as the Venlo incident. But this incident is not just organized to capture a list of agents or to learn British techniques. It is also to give Germany a pretext for invading the Netherlands, since by allowing British agents to operate there, the Dutch are violating their neutrality. The British agents are sent to a concentration camp. But the British have some seriously high-placed double agents in Germany by now. For example, the November 12th date for the attack in the West was known from 2 different sources. One is General Hans Oster, who is second in command under Admiral Wilhelm Canaris in German intelligence, and he had given the date to the Dutch military attaché in Berlin. The other is also in Canaris' intelligence organization, Paul Tummel, who passed on the date through the Czechoslovak government in exile in Paris. He has been sending classified details of the German military to Czechoslovak intelligence since 1936.
Damn.
I mentioned that
That's a good double agent there. Not getting caught for this fucking long? Yeah.
Hitler's would-be assassin was sent to Sachsenhausen. He isn't the only one. On the 5th, all 167 Polish professors at Krakow University are rounded up by the Gestapo and sent to Sachsenhausen. 17 die under torture. On the 9th, 21 Jews sent to Buchenwald to work in the quarry are executed. On the 8th, in Czechocinek, 50 Polish officers, prisoners of war, are led through the streets with their hands above their heads. They are then shot. Also in the occupied territory this week, on November 9th, Odilo Globochnik is appointed SS and police leader in the Lublin district. He is virulently anti-Semitic, and before the war had served as deputy district leader of the Nazi Party in Austria, helping to pave the way for Hitler's annexation. And another week of the war comes to an end, with plans to remove Hitler either failing or being abandoned. Soviet plans in Finland are still going nowhere, as are Hitler's for new attacks, at least for the time being. Hitler survived the bomb, either by being really lucky, or if that one source is correct, as planned, but still. In my series on World War I, and in our Between Two Wars series, If there is one thing I've discovered, it's that assassination attempts are not easy, and most of the time, they do fail. Now, I cannot say what would have happened had Hitler died this week, but I can fairly confidently say what will happen since he didn't. The atrocities and terror in conquered territory will continue and grow, and Hitler's plans for an attack in the West will become ever more concrete. If you want to learn about Hitler's
And that was week 11 of World War II, the 10th of November, 1939. Hitler almost killed. And there's nothing really to add here at the end of this episode. This was good. It was just another one of those weeks where I feel like there wasn't really much to commentate on. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.